second. Okay, we are now live. You can continue now.
Right. Good evening. We're going to go ahead and return here to open session at 6:01 on August 24th. Thank you for joining us. If you're watching us live instead of watching Scott Baio or Kid Rock over on other channels. So with that, we'll go ahead. We will conduct public roll call. So we'll start with Ms. Mason.
Here.
Ms. Mayo.
Here.
Ms. Cound.
Here.
Ms. Durkee.
Here.
And I'm also here. So all 5 board members. And so, sorry, I got slightly moved off. And then we're going to go ahead and move to the Pledge of Allegiance. So if everyone would please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the
of the
United
United States of America
and
and to the republic
for
for which it stands,
one
one nation,
under
under
God,
God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right. Thank you for that. And so our report out of closed session negotiations. So the board received information from staff on negotiations, and in item 7.2, public employee performance evaluation with the superintendent. We talked about a framework for the superintendent's goals and what that might look like, and we'll be having more conversation about that in future meetings and reporting out to the public on that. So with that, we're going to move to public comment. So the public may address the board regarding any item within the jurisdiction of the Board of Education of MDUSD that is not on this agenda. These presentations are limited to 3 minutes each, or a total of 30 minutes for all speakers, or 3 minute limit may be shortened. If there are multiple speakers on any one subject, the public comment period may be moved to the end of the meeting. Speakers are not allowed to yield their time. So at this point, we have had, we've been doing this for a few months in a virtual environment. So we've had our email, which is boardcomments@, as well as the ability for the public to call in and leave voicemails. The superintendent and I have been talking. Our hope is that at the next meeting, what we would be able to do is return to having the public with a more real life type environment. And so the goal would be, we're checking to make sure that we'd be able to support having public comment via Zoom. And so that's what we're working towards. But for this meeting, we do have some voicemails that have been left. And so we will go ahead and just prior to playing them, what I'll share is that the same as when we're in person together, that the board, in part because of the Brown Act, is really in a position where we're able to listen. We can perhaps ask clarifying questions, which actually we can't do with the voicemails, but we can ask clarifying questions of staff or give direction to staff, but we're really not able to engage in or respond to the comments since they're not agendized. And what we've also done, just since it's a bit difficult with voicemail to tell which particular item, we've gone ahead and put the public comment under this general public comment. But again, the goal with returning to having the public be able to speak live would be to have them speak to the particular agenda items that are of interest. But for now, we'll stick with general public comment. And so I'll turn it over to staff to play what I believe is 12 or so messages.
I am a parent of 2 elementary school students, a kindergartner and a first grader. Distance learning is not sustainable. It is not realistic. It is not a replacement for education. I request you open elementary schools open for in-person learning as soon as possible, granted by the county. Hi, my name is Andrea Rosario. I have two children that go to elementary school at Mount Diablo Elementary, and I am calling to leave a message for the board meeting. And I just wanted to say, as a parent, my heart breaks every day they are on distance learning, and my son has cried to me every day. He cannot learn in distance learning at this age. Elementary students need to return to the classroom as soon as possible. Hello, I have two children that go to Monty Gardens. Both have an IEP, and I am urging you to reopen the schools as soon as possible. My younger child does 30 minutes of interactive Zoom a day, and that is it. Not one of their IEP goals are being met, along with no social interaction or anything that comes along with being actually in person at school. I urge you to really consider what is happening and get these children back in school as soon as possible. Thank you. Hi, my name's Naomi Orcat, and I was calling because we need our elementary students back in school. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Rob Dromey. I'm calling on behalf of my son who attends Mount Diablo Elementary School. This is the Mount Diablo Unified School District. This message is to be read at your meeting. I'm calling to advise that my child needs to be in school. He just started the first grade in the Starbucks class. Distance learning is not working for us. His education is suffering for it. It suffered at the end of last year, and the school needs to be opened up to our elementary school kids. We need to get them back into school, and I hope the Teachers Association will agree to this. If not, other arrangements need to be made. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kelly Vaughn. I'm a parent of a second grade student at Mount Diablo Elementary School in Clayton. I was calling just to let you guys know that this is having a terrible effect on my child and our entire family. We need our children back on campus. Thank you. My name is Crystal, and please bring our children back to school. They need to be in school for their social and emotional well-being. Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, hello. My name is Justin, and I am the parent of a second grade student at Mount Diablo Elementary School. I'm just calling to say and to actually show my support to getting students back in the classroom as soon as possible. I believe it's imperative that our kids be taught in person, and that this is having a lot of detrimental effects on their learning that's going to set them back for years to come. Our top priority is our kids, and I think our kids need to get back and get a good education. Thanks a lot. Have a great day. Bye.
Good afternoon, board members. My name is Debbie Hickey. I'm the office manager at Mount Diablo High School. At this time, we just received an email from John Rubio in regarding the air quality and the safety measures. However, you don't really care about your staff because you are forcing them to take vacation time if the air quality is too much for them. Some of them have asthma, such as myself. If we do have to be outside, why should we be forced to take our vacation due to health issues at your school? You have no decency at all in order to force us to take our vacation. You can't afford to give us a raise, but you can afford to pay $195,000 for larger employees that are only down at the district office. But you are going to make us take our vacation? How disrespectful you are to your employees. Thank you. Have a great day.
My name is Christina Strasnikov, and I'm part of the MDUSD school district. I'm calling to say that I support the passage of the bylaws for more student representation on our governing board. Thank you.
Hi, I am a concerned student in this school district. The beauty of America is our democracy, is our ability to voice our concerns and to create change through our voices. Our voices are a representation However, due to the structure of the school board, us students have no voice. We are not able to partake in such democracy. We are being robbed of a fundamental right that is given to every single citizen. This is not fair. It is not just. And for this very reason, I demand that the bylaws leading to more student representation are passed. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Tina Farhadi, and I'm a junior at Northgate High School. I'm calling in today to show my support for the passage of bylaws which would ensure more student representation on the governing board. Thank you.
Members of the board, my name is Kayusha Bailey. As a parent, it's very disappointing to hear of a proposal to drastically reduce music education for first and sixth graders. It isn't new that the arts are the first to appear on the chopping block when times are tough, but it's still wrong. Music and other arts education increases student performance in all other subject areas. Music education specifically improves math performance. But really, music education is valuable for music education's sake. Providing music education in public schools is also an equity issue. While many families may be able to provide private music lessons to their children, most can't. So when it disappears from school, it disappears from their lives. I'm certain that with deeper, more creative thinking, whatever savings the district is trying to enjoy by cutting music instruction by 75% can be had without harming and promoting further inequity.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Karen Arce, and I wanted to leave a public comment for the district board meeting this evening. I was calling because I've noticed that now that you've been having your meetings through Zoom, there hasn't been any translation in Spanish, and that concerns me because many of the community members only speak Spanish, and the fact that there's no translation into Spanish, there's a lot of community members that don't understand what's going on with our school system. So I'm wondering if you can please go back to also having the meetings translated. I would really appreciate it as a Concord community resident. It would really mean a lot to me. Thank you. Bye-bye.
And that concludes our public comment for today.
Thank you for that, and thank you to our public. And that was very concise public comment, so thank you for those. Next is district organizations. At regular board meetings, a single spokesperson of each recognized district organization may make a brief presentation. Items are limited to those which are informational. At the last few meetings when we've had those, we've attached them as letters to the agenda, and I've gone ahead and read those out. I do not see any attached today, so we will move along to recognitions and resolutions. So item 10.1, review and potential approval of board resolution 2021-6 for personnel with variable term waivers. And
yes, and let me introduce Dr. John Rubio from Human Resources, and he is going to take on this item. Dr. Rubio.
Good evening, everyone. The variable term waivers provide us the applicants the ability to have additional time to complete certain requirements for the credential that authorizes their service. It's made when we don't have a properly credentialed person for the position yet. All requests for a variable term waiver must be presented for approval of the governing board. So we're bringing this with you tonight to ask for your approval for one employee for a variable term waiver.
Any board questions?
I would make a motion that we approve the board resolution 20/21-6 for personnel with variable term waivers.
I'll second.
Motion, Ms. Mason, second, Ms. Durkee. Ms. Durkee, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Mason?
Yes.
Ms. Mayo? Ms. Mayo, you're on mute. Ms. Mayo, you're still on mute.
I know that.
the agenda was covering up the screen. So I vote yes.
Okay. Ms. Count?
Yes.
I also vote yes. Item passes 5-0. We move along to item 10.2, which is review and potential approval of Board Resolution 2021-7 for personnel with provisional internship permits. And Dr. Clark, can I presume that Dr. Rubio would speak to this one as well?
You are correct.
All right, thank you. Dr. Rubio.
Thank you. While the California Commission on Teacher Credentialing is no longer issuing emergency permits, the Commission has replaced that with the Provisional Internship Permit, or PIP, which allows our applicants additional time to meet the subject matter competence requirements. And this evening, we're asking the board to consider approval for 2 of our applicants to have that provisional internship permit to allow them to complete their assignments for the upcoming year.
Okay, any questions? Prior to Ms. Mason making a motion, I can tell she wants to.
I make a motion that we approve Board Resolution 20/21-7 for personal and provisional internship permits.
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Mason. Second by Ms. Durkee. Ms. Durkee, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Mason?
Yes.
Ms. Count?
Yes.
Ms. Mayo?
Yes.
I also vote yes. That passes 5-0. We move along to 10.3, review and potential approval of Board Resolution 2021-8 to authorize local assignment options. Dr. Clark.
I'm going to turn this one over to Dr. Rubio as well.
No.
Thank you. Education Code 44258.2 authorizes the governing board to assign an employee holding a single subject or standard secondary credential with their consent to teach any subject in a departmentalized class in grades 5 through 8. So we're asking this evening for that permission for one of our employees at Pine Hollow Middle School.
Okay. Any discussion or questions? All right. I'm looking for a motion.
Mr. President, I move that the board approve the Board Resolution 20/21-8, which would authorize local assignment options.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion Ms. Mayo, second by Ms. Mason. Ms. Mason, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Mayo?
Yes.
Ms. Count?
Yes.
Ms. Durkee?
Yes.
I also vote yes. Item passes 5-0. We move along, 10.4. Review and potential approval of Board Resolution 2021-9 to authorize local assignment options. Sorry, yep, did I read that correct? Yep, all right. So seemed very similar to the last one, so just wanted to make sure. All right,
Yes.
Dr. Rubio.
Similar to the last one, this Education Code 44256B authorizes the board to assign an employee holding a multiple subject or standard elementary credential with their consent to teach any subject in a departmental class below grade 9, where the teacher has completed at least 12 semester units or 6 upper division units. And so we're bringing this to you this evening to ask for your approval for 2 of our employees to be able to do that.
Okay, and do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve Board Resolution 20/21-9 to authorize local assignment options.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Mason, for the motion. Ms. Mayo for the second. Ms. Mayo, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Mason?
Yes.
Ms. Count?
Yes.
Ms. Durkee?
Yes.
Okay, I vote yes, 5-0. And we move along to 10.5, which is review and potential approval of Resolution 20/21-12 in recognition of Attendance Awareness Month, which is particularly interesting this year. So Dr. Clark.
Yep. So I'm going to take this item because, as you well know, and as I'm sure this board knows, that chronic absenteeism is so important for us to battle when we want our students to show up to school each and every day, to provide consistency and to provide those educational experiences that really will stick with them for a lifetime. We know in this environment, it's a different set of circumstances when we refer to chronic absenteeism. However, I think it's still important that we bring this resolution forward. So as you well know, September is Attendance Awareness Month, and we have a resolution here that we would like to present to the board that is showing our commitment as a district to improving student attendance. I won't go ahead and read the entire resolution, but we are. I'll just read one of the sentences. Is that whereas building strong, trusting relationships that promote belonging is fundamental to improving student achievement and participation. Whereas students are more likely to engage in and attend school if they feel safe, both emotionally and physically, feel connected and supported, and are encouraged to believe they can learn and achieve. So with that, I am asking the board to consider Resolution 20-2112.
All right, thank you, Dr. Clark. Ms. Mayo?
Mr. President, I would move that the board approve Resolution 20/21-12 in recognition of Attendance Awareness Month.
And I would second that, but I do have a comment. When we're looking at attendance with this new virtual learning, I know on my street, the power is going to be shut off for 3 hours this week. So those kids on our street won't get, I called PG&E and tried to plead the case, but because only 30 or 40 houses are involved, they're not interested in changing it. But as the lady and I talked, she said, this is kind of the new world we're in, and they have to start looking at how they do business. But I'm wondering how, as an attendance, how do we do that? Is that an excused attendance? Does it not count as long as the child checks in the morning? Because I think this is going to be something we're going to see a lot of in the next few months.
Yeah, so
Dr. Clark, can I ask, since we've got a motion and a second, let's vote. And then if you'd like to comment, because I think all board members, I'm sure, have some questions in this area. So second by motion, Ms. Mayo, second, Ms. Mason. Ms. Mason, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Mayo?
Yes.
Ms. Durkee?
Yes.
Towns?
Yes.
I also vote yes, passes 5-0. Dr. Clark, over to you.
yes, when I do in the next item, in the next 12.0 during the superintendent's report, I have a special slide there on attendance that I'll cover how we're doing attendance. But to answer your question, as long as that student checks in sometime during the day, he or she will be marked present.
Great, thank you for that. And we'll look forward to further discussion on that in a few moments. Item 10.6, review and potential approval of board bylaw 9150, student board member. So this is one we've been discussing for a few minutes, meetings. We had a presentation several weeks ago on this. It's one that I appreciate the work staff has done. Dr. Clark, I'll turn to you.
Yeah. So we brought this item forward for a first read at our last meeting, and now the item is back before the board to take action. And I have our in-house attorney, Mr. Alvarado, on the line as well. And so if the board is satisfied with the policy as written, and we can just go ahead and we can take action on the policy. But if any of the trustees would like to would like to make any adjustments to it, this would be that time.
Mr. President, I move to approve board bylaw and exhibit 9150.
I will second that.
So we don't want the changes first, or?
I was going to say, I think we had some discussion. So Ms. Durkee, did you have a
Yeah,
comment?
I did. I have a general question because I didn't pull out last. I do have it here, actually. I think there were a couple of suggested changes, so I don't know if they were all done, but the one I was particularly focused on, and in your feedback to information back to the board, you responded to this. And I think I'm interpreting correctly that if you look at the very last paragraph on the first page, and it has to do with, remember I brought up the term about the staff briefings. What does that really mean? I just think there's some vagueness in here that could potentially be a problem in terms of the superintendent's ability to send information to the board that's confidential. And so the suggestion from the staff was to remove, starting with the second sentence down. So where it says student board members shall also be invited to attend staff briefings, all the way down to the end. I think the staff maybe, I don't know whether it was Ms. Sachs that helped with this, but someone in your document to us said this would be the recommendation based on the concerns I had, to just pull that out and it wouldn't change anything else in it.
Right. So yeah. So we have Mr. Alvarado who will help us with that. But I just want to highlight on student board member E9150 board bylaws, just under the last paragraph. It says the superintendent or designee office shall provide the student board member with full and complete agendas and copies of any materials received by the board, except for those materials covered in closed session and any other confidential matters. So, so essentially, the student board member would get just what the public is receiving in terms of materials and information, but would be excluded from confidential matters and from matters covered in closed session.
So, which is what the Brown X's were supposed to do anyway.
Can you clarify where you were just reading from for me?
So there's two documents with.
So you're talking about the other one, okay?
Yes.
So you think having it there clarified that means we don't have to adjust what I was.
So I'm gonna have Mr. Alvarado comment on that if you would.
Sure. So I think the concern primarily was with the language of staff briefing and briefing. That was lifted or taken directly from taken from the statute, but I don't think that I think that if there's any question about the language, if there's any ambiguity, we can easily remove it and then leave the first sentence, which basically takes care verbatim of the issue and deals with it directly, which is that students would get anything that the public would see, with the exception, of course, of the items that are provided to the board in closed session, those things that are confidential. As far as staff briefings and so forth, if there's ambiguity as to what the meaning of that is, we can remove those two sentences, and I think it leaves the meaning of the bylaw within the spirit of what the law and the statute requires.
Yeah, and let me just clarify. I think the distinction is in the AR. It says closed and covered in closed session and any other confidential materials. That's really was my issue. I mean, I'm not going to grapple over the staff briefings. I just thought it was kind of vague. And so, but that was my main concern. And so, if so another option is to add that little phrase to what's stated on the actual board bylaw. Or just like you said, take that whole section out. Either way is fine with me, but I just think I want that additional clarification of any other confidential materials.
Ms. Mayo, did you have a comment?
I think that how do you want to handle this, President Lawrence? Is it going to be a friendly amendment? Is Mrs. Durkee going to make an amendment and then we vote on the amendment and then the main motion? My question would be, the motion did not include the E9150, which normally boards do not vote on. I believe they don't vote on the E's and the ARs, though we always can do that. But board members always vote on the board policies versus staff can amend the other documents at any time without having board approval necessarily. So I just want some clarification on that, because if we were not to address Ms. Durkee's question, then the E might change and it would have a ramification.
I believe in my motion I did include the exhibit, However, I would like to amend my motion, if I may, to add the words "and any other confidential materials" to the bottom of page 1 of board bylaw. All materials presented to board members except those related to closed session
And any other
and
confidential.
any other
Yeah.
confidential materials.
Yeah, that would work. I already said I would give it up, and now this staff briefing is just, it's not mentioned. I don't think it's mentioned in the AR, but I'm just not sure what that means. But maybe it's left for interpretation. We could just trust the superintendent to figure out what.
We can add that language, or we can remove the two sentences that are not clear to the.
So I think we have a motion with an amendment as Ms. Counts presented. I'll ask for a second on that. I'm not quite sure I heard a second.
I'll go ahead and second the amendment.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Mason. So I'll go ahead and I'm going to call for a vote. So Ms. Mason, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Count?
Yes.
Ms. Mayo?
Yes.
All right, Ms. Durkee?
Yes.
And I also vote yes. So the student rep, student board member, that passes. It's very exciting. I think this is a really big step for us as a board in terms of continuing to hear and honor the voice of our students and giving them more input into the process. And so we'll certainly be having more information, and we'll be moving forward with the process of having a student board member joining us very shortly. And so we're looking forward to that. So thank you everyone for your work on that. And so now we move along to some appointments, exciting stuff. So 11.1, the review and potential approval of personnel appointment, vice principal, Bel Air and Rio Vista Elementary. Dr. Clark?
Yes, so we're very excited to welcome on some new members to the team, and I'm going to turn this over to our HR department, and I believe Dr. Scudero is going to introduce our first two candidates.
Mount Diablo Unified School District is pleased to announce and bring for your approval the appointment of Aya Rubio as the new vice principal at Bel Air Elementary School and Rio Vista Elementary School. Aya Rubio has been a teacher, instructional coach, and administrator in 3 diverse urban school districts. Aya began her career in education as a second grade teacher at a gifted and high ability bilingual school in Los Angeles Unified School District. She later moved to San Francisco, where she taught 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grades. Following that, she became a SEAL coach, facilitator, literacy coach, equity coach, and an assistant principal at 2 school sites, a 3rd through 8th grade high achieving school and a 6th through 8th grade technology focused middle school in the peninsula. Since 2001, Aya has taught and led in California public schools with a focus on equity to allow students to meet their potential, be inspired, and develop a love of learning. Aya values building a strong relationship with the entire learning community and taking a collaborative approach to ensure achievement for all learners. She believes it is important that everyone is honored for their unique gifts, and when we work together and learn from one another, we are a stronger community.
Great, thank you. Do we have a motion?
I would make a motion that we approve the appointment of Aya Rubio to my alma mater, Bel Air Elementary School, as well as Rio Vista Elementary as vice principal.
Second.
A motion from Ms. Mason, second by Ms. Count. Ms. Count, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Mason?
Yes.
Ms. Durkee?
Yes.
Ms. Mayo?
Yes.
I make it 5 by also voting yes. So congratulations. Ms. Rubio, would you like to share a few words and if there's anyone you wanted to thank?
Thank you for this opportunity to work and be a part of 2 extraordinary elementary school communities and part of Mount Diablo Unified School District. I'm so thrilled to be partnering with our students, our families, my many colleagues across the district, and community members to ensure that all students receive what they need to thrive. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you and congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, we move along to item 11.2, review and potential approval of personnel appointment, vice principal at Shore Acres Elementary. Dr. Clark?
And I'm going to pass that over to Dr. Scudero.
Thank you. Mount Diablo Unified School District is pleased to announce and bring for your approval the appointment of Kevin Chirko as the new vice principal at Shore Acres Elementary School. Kevin was born and raised here in Contra Costa County. He was a student in the Mount Diablo Unified School District from kindergarten through high school. After high school, Kevin attended Arizona State University, where he earned his bachelor's degree in elementary education. Kevin moved back to the Bay Area, where he has had the privilege of working as an elementary teacher in the school district he grew up in. Over the past 6 years, Kevin has worked at Mountain View Elementary School, where he's taught 3rd through 5th grade. During his time as a teacher, Kevin earned his Master of Arts degree in Educational Administration from California State University, San Marcos. Kevin and his wife have 2 children, Jackson, who is 20 months old, and a daughter, Charlotte, born this past April. Kevin has a passion for education and is thrilled and honored to be able to continue inspiring students and teachers in our district as an administrator.
All right, great, thank you.
I would make a motion that we approve the appointment of Kevin Chirko as vice principal to Shore Acres Elementary and welcome him to my neighborhood.
I'll second.
All right, motion Ms. Mason, second Ms. Durkee. Ms. Durkee, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Mason?
Yes.
Ms. Mayo?
Yes.
Ms. Cound?
Yes.
I vote yes. It's unanimous, 5-0. Congratulations, Mr. Chirko. Thank you for joining us, and always exciting to have someone who's truly worked his way through the system. Is there anyone you want to say hello to and acknowledge?
I just want to say thank you, Dr. Clark and members of the board for this opportunity. It's a dream to be able to continue my administrative career in the district that I grew up in. And I'm beyond excited to be a part of the Shore Acres and part of the community in Bay Point. So just thank you.
All right, welcome.
All right, congratulations. All right, we move along to 11.3, review and potential approval of personnel appointment, vice principal at Northgate.
Yep, and we have Dr. Rubio is going to take the next 2 items.
Okay.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to bring for your review and potential approval the personnel appointment for Cara Ravina. Cara brings 20 years of educational experience to her appointment in the Mount Diablo Unified School District. Most recently, she has served as the director of instrumental music for Las Lomas High School. During her time with the Acalanes Union High School District, Ms. Ravina was active on the equity teams there. She served as department chair and led professional development. Ms. Ravina is an alumnus of CSU East Bay, where she earned an undergraduate degree in music and a master's degree in educational leadership. Ms. Ravina is passionate support of equity-based initiatives that support inclusive environments for students and is delighted to continue this work for Mount Diablo Unified.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the appointment of Cara Ravina as vice principal for Northgate High.
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Cowan, for the motion. Ms. Durkee for the second. Ms. Durkee, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Cowan?
Yes.
Ms. Mayo?
Yes.
Ms. Mason?
Yes.
I vote yes. Passes 5-0. And do we have?
There she is.
Oh.
There she is. All right, there she is. Hello, Ms. Ravina. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to return to the Mount Diablo School District now as an administrator, and I look forward to building strong connections with the Bronco students, their families, and staff, and with my new colleagues throughout the district. So thank you so much for adding me to your team and welcoming me.
Congratulations.
Congratulations and welcome.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for that. And then we move along to 11.4, review and potential approval of personnel appointment database administrator. And I believe that's also Dr. Rubio.
Yes, thank you. It's my pleasure to bring for your review and potential approval for appointment of a personnel appointment for a database administrator. for Daniel Lopez. Mr. Lopez was born and raised in the San Francisco Bay Area. He has attended several local colleges and UC Berkeley. Daniel has over 15 years of technology and information systems experience, with 12 of those years at Brentwood Union School District. And prior to that time, Mr. Lopez worked in Silicon Valley in a number of different roles. Daniel Lopez has enjoyed living in East Contra Costa for over 30 years, where he and his wife raised their family.
All right, great, thank you. Do we have a motion?
Mr. President, I would move that we approve the appointment of Daniel Lopez as database administrator for the Technology and Information Services Department.
Second.
Okay, motion, Ms. Mayo, second, Ms. Count. Ms. Count, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Mayo?
Yes.
Ms. Mason?
Yes.
Ms. Durkee?
Yes.
I vote yes, it passes 5-0. Do we have Daniel with us?
I don't believe so.
All right, I was looking forward to, but we have Robert, maybe a director of technology. Was he saying anything on, or is he just?
I think he's just trying, I think he's just watching.
Okay, I didn't know if we are gonna have a conversation about SQL statements and ODBC drivers, but we'll hold out for that for another night. So yeah, with that, we move along to item 12.1, the superintendent's report. Dr. Clark.
Great. So I'm going to give a report on the start of school and sort of the preparations leading up to that. And I want to thank the tech department for their support on putting together this, on helping me display the PowerPoint tonight. So when I need to advance the slide, I'll ask to please advance the slide. Can you please advance the slide? So there were lots of preparations for the, getting ready for the first days of school. Here you just see a few pictures of a school supply drive. You see a young student picking up his Chromebook. Another interesting thing in the bottom left-hand corner, these are cards from a teacher to her students that obviously she mailed out or sent out to her students. And then we have another student who's collecting supplies, all in preparing for that first day. Next slide, please. Here, this is just an example of just the wide range of the Mount Diablo team that really came together to help our students. Upper left-hand corner, we have counselors at, I believe this is Concord High, and they are there to greet students in a walkthrough orientation. Bottom left-hand corner, we have obviously individuals from the office, that office team coming back, and again, they're ready to support students. And then, just our food services department has just been, working nonstop during these challenging time, providing meals, and there's an example of them. Next slide, please. And then the day we've all been waiting for. These three pictures really just sum it up, just sum up these times. I just smile every single time I see these pictures. But these are a couple of pictures of some of our excited students in our reality right now, getting ready for that first day of school, which was last Monday. Next slide, please. And as you see, this is kind of how some staff members responded. We do have a principal there helping out. There goes TK. So that's one of the one of those more challenging grade levels, I would say. And then we have a principal there welcoming back second grade. Next slide. Again, this is sort of how it looks on the other end. I think it's always important just to keep ourselves grounded, and these are the folks who we're serving, as our students, and just seeing these two setups and seeing these two students, hopefully this puts a smile on your face. Next slide. And now you can see some of our staff. And so, as I've been going through some of these pictures, there's quite elaborate setups that have been taking place. And so you can see the picture on the left. You have a a teacher there. She has charts in the back. She has pictures. She, you know, in a extra large monitor so she can keep an eye on all her students. The teacher across the way has quite the setup. I don't know if this picture does it justice, but there's several different lighting mechanisms taking place, and just again, that creativity and that professionalism just really comes out. Next slide, please. And here are just some more examples of you know, of staff greeting pictures. I mean, obviously you see on the right, you see there, you know, that's obviously a you know, one of our dual immersion programs there. You see the Spanish writing on the back wall and whatnot, but just an example of what distance learning looks like on the student side, and here what it's looking like on the professional side. Next slide, please. Here's just an example. This is a kindergarten schedule, and so this is, you know, a schedule for an elementary student, and you can just see sort of, you know, how they have organized the you know, their days with distance learning. So you can see, you know, this is very similar, whole class Zoom meeting, and then it breaks out into different groups and whatnot. And so there's a lot of creativity that has taken place with these schedules, but this is one example of an elementary school. Next slide. And I have an example here of middle school. So, you know, our middle school students are on a seven period day. So you can sort of see how things are broken down here with, you know, with odd periods and even periods. You can see the durations of the period. Students have independent time, they have lunchtime, office hours, and then, you know, again, on Wednesdays, that's when our teachers do some of their professional development, but you could see what's being recommended for our middle school students. Next slide. And this is basically another middle school, but it just shows you the consistency amongst the schedules across the board. So next slide, please. Just, you know, at the high school level, they become very, very creative. So here, you know, you have a virtual Red Devil welcome for their freshman class, and over on the right there, you have the library over at Northgate, where they're either checking out devices or sharing how to use the library during some of the many different sessions that we're having to engage with our students. Next slide, please. Here's just another example on the left here. You can see a high school schedule. This is, again, Mount Diablo High School. Many of our high schools, their schedules are very similar, but it just shows, you know, it just shows the block scheduling. I do want to point out just about our school websites that there's so much information that is included on the website. So you can see here at Mount Diablo, they have a special distance learning tab. And if you can see over on the right, there's a teacher directory, there's Chromebook information, there's Chromebook information in Spanish, and then there's also technology FAQs. And then on the right, we have a picture of Northgate. Next slide, please. So I want to just give some updates on technology. So as of this week, the tech department and team has distributed over 20,000 Chromebooks out to our students, and we also have an order for 4,000 more that we are waiting to receive. Again, teacher laptops, because some teachers are working from home, and so therefore they needed laptops. They needed to be updated. So we've distributed 50. We have 250 more laptops that are on order. And then one of the hot topics are hotspots. Again, this is with ensuring that our students have connectivity. And we started off by distributing hotspots to our most vulnerable students. So those would be our foster youth, our homeless, our newcomers, special ed students, non-English speakers. And so at time when I did this PowerPoint, we were at 650 hotspots distributed, but I actually this afternoon got a notice that we've actually distributed 720 hotspots, and we have 1,000 more on order that should be coming any day. We have also distributed to our teachers over 231 webcams. So many of our computers don't have cameras on them, and so when you have the webcams, then that allows the teachers and support staff to use the to use their computers and not have to get a new computer with a camera on it. The help desk, which usually on a regular start of school, usually the help desk helps out with individuals whose passwords have expired over the summer, or whose computers have gone through re-imaging and maybe they need to reset them. But this year, when you throw into the situation 1,700 teachers who are doing distance learning, approximately 30,000 students, other parents who are involved in supporting their students, and support staff at the school sites, the help desk is averaging about 260 daily calls for assistance. These range anywhere from I forgot my password to this platform is not working, and everything in between. And also in the technology department, they've been short-staffed. They have several openings, but I just, I want to give a hats off to this team. They really have, been working throughout the summer, because in order to get 20,000 Chromebooks ready for distribution, they had to visit every single school site. They had to remove Chromebooks from carts. They had to do the re-imaging. They've had to load software on them. Just a tremendous amount of work that took place even before school started, and then distributing the devices and then supporting everyone who needs it. So I know, of course, when you're dealing with 260 calls, there's going to be some frustration. I totally understand that, but I just really want to give a high five to all those individuals in the technology department, and those who supported those in the technology department. I want to give them a big high five, because office staff, support staff at the school sites, they all have had to roll up their sleeves and kind of dive in to this way to support support our teachers, support our students, and support our parents and families with doing distance learning. So that's a technology update. Next slide, please. So before even the year started, our Ed Services team put together numerous trainings. So of course these spreadsheets are sort of too small to read from this PowerPoint, but we did have a week-long administrator training when our administrators returned from vacation. We've had several different options for teachers. So there's been teacher training that's in the middle and to the right. And again, I know that this is new territory. It's very difficult to cover everything, and there are some things that we were not able to get to right away, but we do have time on Wednesdays. We do have time, during the coming weeks to continue to provide support. But a tremendous amount of work went into setting up these, these sort of not preschool, but the pre-start of school training. So anyway, thank you to the Ed Services team and for the administrators and teachers who participated. Next slide, please. And then just again, Ed Services, provided, they provided the direction for our teaching ELD through distance learning. The slide in the middle really is our assessment calendar, and a lot of the roadmaps in terms of timelines for different assessments that need to take place and different, curriculum that needs to be taught. And then again, over on the right is just that constant focus on that social emotional learning, of our students and what it is that we're trying to build here. And we have to really go through all those steps in order to get our students to where they need to be. Next slide. Student services. So of course there's challenges with enrollment, and what I mean by that is that there are some families that that have left the area for one reason or another. Maybe it was employment, or maybe they had to go live with relatives or things of that nature. We have some people who have chosen to go to private schools. We have some people who are choosing to do homeschools, and we have some people who are transferring with our own organization here. So there's always enrollment challenges as we're trying to track and document all of those changes and find out where students are, balancing classrooms, making sure that that our teachers are within their negotiated class sizes, things to that nature. One thing that we have to do every year is address verification. Well, again, just thinking outside the box, we're requiring documents, and we're actually checking those through email rather than having people come in. We've had some tight spaces in our high schools. Since June, there were over 40 unassigned high school students who were unable to enroll in their selected schools. So we had to find them places, and some of it was moving people around. But, the student services team really has worked hard in trying to honor transfers, work through the wait list for some of our choice schools, and to get students into the schools, where they need to be. And so that, that has been a constant over in the student services department. And there's been high numbers of students enrolling, students disenrolling, and some re-enrolling. And so it's just a constant movement over there when it comes to our enrollment and tracking that and trying to place everybody. So just a good high five to our student services department. Next slide, please. We talked earlier about attendance, and so again, this distance learning is new for all of us. Our teachers are very capable of taking face-to-face attendance as they do every day in their classrooms during in-person instruction. Our office managers and attendance clerks, they know the codes. I mean, they have it down packed. Now we've basically just thrown everything out of whack, and we're implementing a new system. And when I say we, I mean all of schools in California. And so basically, students are going to be reported using one code, and it's going to be the highest level of participation. So let me explain what that means. So if a student is present, so that means in the morning Zoom call, or in the first thing in the morning when the class all gets together, students are present, they're getting that P. I need to put my glasses on here. They're getting that P for present. And then we have other students who are receiving services, whether that's through speech therapy or counseling, things of that nature. If students are present there, they're getting a 6. If a student completes a test or submits an assignment online, that still counts as being present, so they're gonna receive a 4 there. And then if a student communicates with staff, they're going to receive a 3. So that, again, whether it's a phone call or whether it's online or through email, and again, it's just that communication. And then if we don't hear from a student or don't see a student, or a student doesn't check in throughout a day, then that student's going to receive an A for being absent. And so we know that this system is different. There's still guidance coming from the state. So even still, even though we're already a week in, some other schools are a few weeks in, and some schools are getting ready to start. The state still hasn't clearly outlined the attendance mechanisms that they're requiring of us. So I know this is cumbersome for our teachers, and it's cumbersome for our attendance clerks, and it's also cumbersome as we are trying to get accurate enrollment counts. We used to track our enrollment, so that's everyone who's enrolled in the school. You would get one number there, and then once school started, we would do what is called a warm body count, where literally you're counting the heads of the kids in your class, and you're submitting that information to the district, and then that helps us with balancing classrooms, dropping kids who have not shown, and creating space for students who are on wait lists to get into particular schools. And so clearly with distance learning, one of the challenges is really getting accurate numbers in all of those areas. So we're 6 days into it. I'm gonna ask all those to be patient with us, and just to know that we're doing the best we can, but we are working through this process. Next slide, please. So when we take attendance and we notice that a student isn't there, we don't just leave it at that. We're trying to track down those students and re-engage with them. So we're monitoring of HomeLink, which is one of our programs. We're calling home. So we have staff. We have staff who were hired and whose duty is to do one thing, but with distance learning in place, that thing that they usually do is not present anymore. So they're picking up the slack in this area. So they're calling home, and then if we're still unable to reach through the phone calls, then we're sending letters through email and through the U.S. mail. So we really are trying to get a sense of which students are with us, which students don't have internet. Because, these are those individuals who are giving us the information of saying, this family doesn't have internet, so we need to get them on the list to receive a hotspot, and we're working on that. So again, this is a valuable service that these employees are providing, and really re-engaging those students that haven't shown up or who are not participating in distance learning. Next slide, please. So before the year started, a great concern for many people was how were we going to service our most neediest students, and those would be students with special needs. And so we had a team of our dedicated psychologists work over the summer, and they reviewed vendors for creating assessment tools. Now, when we're talking about assessments, psychologists give psychological evaluations to students to see whether or not they qualify for special education services, or just to do rechecking. Students have to be reassessed every couple of years, every few years, and so they found a service that can help with that. All of these activities, we need consent, and so we need to make sure that we have up-to-date documents, to work with some of our service providers. And then also they developed a series of processes and protocols around those assessments. So again, when you're giving psychological assessments to students, usually, it's done one-on-one, face-to-face. And so, of course, during this time, we've had to think outside the box. And so I do want to thank this group for coming together and doing this work. And then also in the same breath, the speech therapists, the same types of things. I mean, the speech therapists are so important. They work with kids on their speech. Usually it happens in a face-to-face environment. However, we've had to, revert to, telepractices and things of that nature. And our speech therapists have helped in that way. Next slide, please. And then what we have here would be, this is our distance learning plan. And this is what we're using for, for many of our students who have special needs. And so again, because it's a different delivery model, we're still going to deliver the same services, but we just, again, we're in this challenging time, and we're doing distance learning, and so therefore we're creating these plans for each of our special education students. We still have to hold IEPs, and we still have to meet all those timelines. However, we're holding them remotely. Next slide, please. And then what we are delivering is daily live interaction and independent activities, and that's basically what our options are here. We can do a push-in model, and so this would be a special education teacher co-teaching with one of our general ed teachers. That is what you call push-in services, or pull-out services, where a student who's receiving services leaves, not physically leaves, but leaves the call with the regular class and either works in one-on-one or small group activities with one of our special education providers. And they either do this on a consultation basis or independent activities. And then we do still have to offer assessments. And so sometimes written in a student's IEP could be, you know, the environment in which they take exams and they take assessments. And so we have those through distance learning, but also families may defer assessment until in-person assessment is available. So again, that's how we're delivering our special education services at this time. Next slide, please. This is just kind of blurry, but this is an example of supporting our families. So here we had on the second day of school, that's 8/18, you know, there was a parent webinar for Zoom basics. And so there's the Zoom meeting for that. Also for Seesaw, which is one of our platforms we use in elementary school. So you can see there's a session for that. Google Classroom in Spanish. And again, this is just one example from one of our elementary schools, but these types of support services are taking place throughout the district. Next slide, please. On a district level, we have the Parent Academy. This flyer is in Spanish. We have it both in Spanish and English, but it's really supporting our parents accessing the virtual classrooms. You know, and this is happening, you know, also, you know, connecting these folks with our community advisory committee and just providing extra resources for parents. And so again, that's our Parent Academy. Next slide. And then on our website, you can find these supports. You know, we have this is how we're delivering counseling services. So again, we have counseling, Mount Diablo Unified School District, distance counseling, parent information. Obviously, you know, our meal service is still going on. We're still distributing meals to students who are eligible for free and reduced meals, and for those who'd like to purchase meals, we're still providing that service. And then also there's a resource here for families who are looking for different options for childcare. Next slide, please. So opening challenges. So these, you know, these none of these can be taken lightly. We are in challenging times all over the world, not just here in Contra Costa County or in our particular city. We are facing a global pandemic, and we opened school in the midst of a global pandemic. We also during last week we were experiencing a heat wave. So, you know, when it's 105 outside and things of that nature, you know, you can just think about, you know, students who maybe are in an apartment or in a home with no air conditioning. You know, we've had to worry about rolling blackouts. We've had to worry about, you know, internet service being slow because of the heat wave. But this also took place last week. And then, you know, we finished off the week with you know, fires, which here in California are becoming, you know, pretty much a yearly occurrence, at least for the last, you know, this is the fourth year in a row when we've been having to deal with, you know, with oppressive smoke, you know, throughout our communities. And then just every year, you know, you have staff changes. So, you know, not only with superintendent, but there's other members of cabinet, there's principals, teachers, you know, other support staff, office managers, you know, there's staff changes. And with that, you know, it requires extra patience. Trauma, we all, every parent, every student, every staff member has experienced trauma through this pandemic in some way or another. The way that we used to do things drastically changed on March 13th when we closed schools. We have people out there who've lost their jobs. We have people who've been sick. You know, we're wearing masks now. You know, Diggers is serving, you know, lunch and dinner outside in the parking lot. I mean, we're experiencing that trauma. And so as you open schools up and you're dealing with individuals who've experienced trauma, and we've experienced trauma ourselves, patience are short, you know, frustration levels are high, anxiety is high, we're unsure of what's coming next. And so it's tough. And so we need to understand that. And then our Contra Costa County health data, a month ago, little more than a month ago, we were in a place where we thought we could bring back groups of students, where we could, you know, open up our schools, but our data is not telling us that. And so, amongst all these challenges, we still open school. And I know that, you know, that everything wasn't smooth, but we did open, and these were some of the challenges. Next slide. So specific challenges to MDUSD. So distance learning, it's a challenge. We wish if we had our way, students would physically be in class. There is no doubt about it. I don't think there's anyone who does not feel that way. My heart aches for those kindergarten parents, those 12th, you know, the senior parents, 7th grade parents. I mean, all the way down the board. I would rather have kids in school, but for the reasons that were on the previous slide, they're not. And so we're doing distance learning. We're doing the best we can with it. And so many people are putting in extra time and are really working hard to make this work, but we get it. It's tough, and we would rather have kids in class. Technology challenges, you know, devices, giving out and accounting for and updating all of the devices, ensuring you know, that students can connect, that even the devices that we do give, that they actually work and they can hook up to the internet. All of those have been challenges. Our platforms have been a challenge. You know, the district can only support certain platforms, and we know that there's lots of apps, there's lots of, you know, neat tools that teachers can use. However, a lot of companies, they start these on you can download it for free, or you can use the free version, and the free version just sort of scratches the surface. But then if you want the more advanced version, then it's something that costs funds, and usually there's more of a commitment to it. Well, if we have so many platforms, we as a district, the PowerPoint ended, but we as a district can't support all of those platforms, and we have privacy laws that we have to follow. There's all these, data mining, viruses out there and bugs that, that we need to account for. And so again, we don't have every single app and every single platform that maybe teachers want or that they would need, but we're doing the best we can. And so we're just going to ask for patience during this time. We're going to work on a system where we can really properly vet these platforms, where we can support platforms. But again, that's a challenge. It's been a challenge. Office support. If someone's computer's not working, if their hotspot's not working, or we have individuals who are coming into our offices or calling our offices, and the folks, our staff members there, are doing the best they can, but some of the stuff they just don't have answers to, and so that creates a backlog. So again, that's been a challenge. Attendance monitoring procedures, I talked about that before. Engaging with all students. Distance learning is not for all kids. I mean, I'm the first to say that not all kids really thrive in that environment. However, it's the best we can offer at this time, and it's the best we can do. But we know it's a challenge, that it's not for all kids. Kids with special needs, English learners, and just your average kid may not be connecting with distance learning. Clear direction for support staff. So we have so many individuals whose jobs depend on supporting students in face-to-face activities. And since we're not doing face-to-face, what do we then do with these individuals? And so again, we as a district and as a team, we have to collaborate and come up with clear directions for how support staff can continue to support students. And we can always get better in this area and better in communicating that. And then we just have to, continue to keep learning loss at the, at the forefront, that nothing takes the place of a student sitting in a classroom with a teacher all day long, learning lots of interesting and engaging material. So there is that learning loss. Next slide. And not that it's all doom and gloom. you know, we had some highlights, and our highlight is, you know what, we implemented distance learning in a safe environment. So we did not have to worry, you know, about, individuals, you know, getting exposed to things and putting students and staff and parents in danger, right? We've been, you know, we've been using social distancing, we've been wearing face coverings, but we did start school in the safest possible environment. And that is something that is a highlight. And we did implement distance learning to close to 30,000 students. That is something that no single individual did that. No single you know, employee group did that. You know, all the parents didn't do that on their own. The students didn't do that on their own. It was a collaborative effort. And so families, students, and staff all collaborated in one way or another in making the best out of a challenging situation. You know, I have to highlight us being able to distribute over 20,000 devices. That is something that you know, hats off to everyone who participated. I know we had teachers who came in during their vacation and helped. We had support staff come in and help. We had administrators out there. We had parent volunteers. Everyone chipped in to get these devices out into the hands of kids. We have a clear curricular guidance. Like, we know the standards, we have scope and sequence. You know, we are moving forward academically with our students. And we have empathetic stakeholders. So we have folks who are acknowledging one another, who are thankful for the support. We have folks who are showing empathy for those who are you know, experiencing trauma in this situation, which is almost everyone. So there are so many individuals in this district who are supporting one another and who are helping each other. And so that is a highlight. And then just our frontline district personnel, those individuals who never left for the summer, right? Worked all summer long preparing for August 17th, which was the first day of school. And there's so many of those individuals throughout the district, whether it's maintenance and grounds, whether it's, you know, our office managers, you know, secretaries, you know, individuals in the HR department, business department, CNI department. I mean, they're everywhere. They're throughout the district. And I cannot thank them enough for their work in really preparing us for school. And with that, if we'll go to the next slide. That concludes my presentation, and I will now open it up to questions or comments from the board. And I know that was a little lengthy, but a lot went on during that last week, and there was a lot of people who I wanted to recognize and give thanks to for being able to pull things together. So thank you.
Of course. Take a drink of water. You earned it.
I know about halfway through, I wanted to check and make sure I wasn't on mute.
We would have let you know.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Clark. Any questions for the superintendent?
Sure. I just want to say thank you for that comprehensive report. You know, wow, what a first week of school we've had. And like you said, thanks to every single person who contributed to that in one way or another. Really incredible. I just had a few short questions. One is, you talked about the technology department being short-staffed and that there's several openings. How can people help get the word out about those openings, help get them filled?
Yep. So we have two openings. We have two unfilled positions. They were retirements or whatnot. But you know, I know that typically we use EdJoin, but a lot of technology people don't necessarily check EdJoin. So I know that Dr. Gonzalez has been reaching out on other platforms and have been, you know, trying to recruit in that way. However, if someone is watching this meeting, then go to EdJoin and put in an application, please.
Awesome. And then the other just short question was, you talked about attendance and how the teachers are learning the new system. I'm thinking about this from a parent perspective. In the past, you know, if there was, sometimes things get inputted wrong, right? And you go, wait, my kid was there or whatever. When it's in person, there's a different system for parents. So now if a parent is looking at HomeLink and they see that something is wrong with the attendance, is there a procedure that the parent goes through to correct anything that may have been entered there?
Yeah, so the parent should email the teacher, and then the teacher can work with the office manager or the attendance clerk to be able to rectify if there was a mishap or an oversight or a mistake that took place. So email the teacher.
Great. Thank you. Any other board questions or comments for the superintendent? All right, we'll move ahead to board reports. And Ms. Count, how about if we start with you?
All right, sure. Thank you. Okay, so activities from the past couple weeks. I did attend the budget advisory meeting, which was great to see the members of the committee really talking about how they feel ready to dive into some tough decisions and are hoping for more detailed information as the meetings progress through the year, so they can read ahead and be ready to really provide some advice and feedback. So that was great to see. I had the opportunity to go out to Monument Crisis Center, which has been an incredible partner, as you all know, for our district and our students. They've been providing not only food, but essential toiletries to hundreds of local families. And I met Carla Tinajero out there, who runs the High School and Beyond program. So that was really neat to see that they also are connecting high school students with access to college and scholarships, and really coordinating with Isabel Laura from our school district and others to make sure that no families fall through the cracks, that we're helping them on one side or the other, or each group is connecting the other. So that was really neat. Schools and communities first, the Proposition 15 that's on the November ballot that we as a school board endorsed. I have I don't know if everyone has seen now on the website, if you go to yes15.org, they have a little calculator on there where you can see how much funding would come to your county or your jurisdiction. And in our case, it lists Mount Diablo Unified as would receive $18 million. From that proposition, from that initiative. So that was good information, I thought, to have, and people can click there and get active on the campaign. The Contra Costa County School Boards Association is continuing to create networking opportunities. So for those of you here or any other school board members in our county, there'll be another networking opportunity this week, this Thursday night and Friday morning. Look for the invitation, should be coming out soon. And then in terms of just opportunities, I wanted to encourage parents to apply for the free and reduced meals. I know we've been putting that out as a school district, but for people to understand, it's not just for the purposes of receiving the meal itself. There's also that is used as an indicator of poverty in our school district as a whole and in our schools. And there are so many other portions of school funding that are connected to that. So the more of our students who qualify that apply, the more resources we'll have to be able to serve our students. So just try to encourage everybody. There's more information about that on ed100.org. They have a parent leader guide about school funding that really explains how the weighted funding works for our schools, and how federal dollars and grants are based on that as well. And then also just reminding people along those lines, if you know anyone who's worried about applying for free school lunches because they or someone in their family may be undocumented, to know that it does not have any effect on immigration status or the public charge, as it's called. So really everyone should feel comfortable to fill out that form and access those meals. I was excited to see also for parents another way to get involved, that more of our committees are now posted for as our school year begins, more ways to get involved. So parents can go to Parents and Community on the MDOSD website and then click the Get Involved. And it's got all the different advisory committees. And the next ones coming up are the Community Advisory Committee has their next meeting September 1st at 8 p.m. and the Equity Advisory Committee September 3rd at 3:30 p.m. But those are all public meetings that everyone's welcome to. So many ways to get involved. Was also excited to see different student leadership opportunities out there. A couple that I've been sharing out as well through social media and at ChariceCowan.com are the for students, there's a free high school engineering program for female identifying students that SWE, the Society of Women Engineers at Berkeley, is providing. And students can apply by September 12th for that, swe.berkeley.edu. And then the MDUSD Education Foundation also extended their deadline for students to apply to their Student Advisory Committee, which is a new leadership group where it will include a representative on the board of the nonprofit organization. And they have posted the application as well that is due August 31st. And they're not just looking for students who are passionate about making a difference within MDUSD, but also those who represent the diversity and unique experiences that is a cornerstone of our district. So really encouraging students to apply. And lastly, I just want to say thank you, so much gratitude for Dr. Clark, for everyone at our district office, for really improving the communications we've had. I really enjoy seeing the organizational update, the parent academy trainings, the last Friday letter that it included hotlines and resources for disasters, stress relief, emotional well-being, just the way that we as a district are in touch with the challenges and the stress that people have out there, and how we're trying to connect people to each other and to resources that they can access. And likewise, a big thank you to Isabel Laura and the MDUSD Parents for Multicultural Education, who really promoted that school supply donation drive that's still going on. And thanks to Principal Clausen out at El Dorado for hosting space for all the supplies to be organized for students throughout the district. So, you know, I think, as Dr. Clark, as you said, when we all come together, that's how we're going to get through this. So thank you.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Count. Ms. Mayo?
Thank you. Ms. Count certainly gave an extensive report, so thank you. I won't need to repeat some of the items on your list. What I want to mention is that the Community Advisory Committee for Special Ed has their meeting on September 1st as well. I believe it's scheduled for 7 p.m. in the evening. They had an exciting meeting in the middle of August with a huge turnout, so they are looking forward to continuing that, breaking the record for attendance at CAC meetings. I want to encourage families and individuals throughout our community to complete the census report. The census taking will finish earlier than expected. It's supposed to wrap up on September 30th. For Mount Diablo School District and many agencies throughout Contra Costa County, the census provides critical information in regards to certain aspects of funding and support for our agencies. So we need folks to enroll, and you can do it without revealing whether, regardless of your immigration status. And there are individuals who can help you enroll, or you can do it online. And there may still be some resources and flyers available at the Contra Costa County Office of Education to distribute at schools. So please get the word out, because that's critical for all of us. And I just want to say thank you to everyone for preparing for school, for surviving the first week. I know that Dr. Clark said that there was the heat wave, and then next we had the fires that put so much stress on families, because even if we weren't evacuated, we're suffering from the smoke and health related problems, or we have family members who have been evacuated. So it has been a anxious weekend for all of us, and there's still several weeks ahead for some of us who are waiting for information from CDC about the containment status in particular areas across our our state and in other areas of our country as well. So thank you again for all of the work you are doing. I know it's been stressful. Try to get some sleep. We can't get that exercise we wanted in the fresh air, but thank you very much.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Mayo. Ms. Mason?
I'll be very brief. I continue to be very busy, have a meeting this week on my Racial Justice Oversight Committee. And I tried to attend the first parent advisory, and I guess they were having some technical problems, so I couldn't get on, but I will try again. And I just hope all the teachers and students enjoyed their first week of school and are getting into routine now. And that's it for me.
All right, great. Thank you. Ms. Durkee?
Yeah, so sorry for my little absence there. It got too windy by the bridge, so I decided to come inside at the lake. So my computer just decided to do an update right in the middle of everything. So yeah, I won't repeat everything I did. Also attend the Budget Advisory Committee, and I want to give a shout out to Dr. Gonzalez for gracefully handling what was really a very healthy discussion, but you know, I think peppered with lots of questions, and she had to adjust quickly in terms of the agenda, and I think she did a really great job. And again, I think it was a very healthy conversation, so thank you for that. The summer internship celebration happened on the 20th, so this is end of the, was this talked about already? Teresa, you didn't talk, I just heard you didn't talk about it. So Ms. Cowan was on this Zoom for this event as well. It's always very exciting, and these are opportunities for students from across, high school students from across our district. Of course, very different this year because of having to do it virtually. But everyone stepped up. We had 54 students across the district, a great majority of them from Mount Diablo High School and Ignatia Valley High School. The students get the opportunity to create portfolios, and for some students that was a really new experience, and they got a lot out of it in terms of now having that in their hands. Many of the students that were sharing at the meeting have graduated and excitingly moving on to their next leg of their journey. The students could take a course at DVC and actually got college credit for that. Some of the partners that were there and really had to step up in a very creative way to figure out how to provide an internship and mentoring virtually was the Contra Costa Workforce Development Board, the Monument Crisis Center, and of course Mount Diablo Unified. And I'll just say, add to that, I think the best quote I heard was from one of the student speakers said, he learned that a closed mouth does not get fed. I've never heard that before, but I think it's really great. So I have to remember that one. So I was also going to mention the school supplies collection, just for folks who haven't seen the notice. They can be mailed or dropped off at El Dorado Middle School, which is 1750 West Street, Concord, 94521. And thanks to Isabel Laura for coordinating all of that. I want to, just add on to great appreciation to everybody, students, parents, all of our staff, our leadership, Dr. Clark, for just making it happen. It's definitely, it's like a big experiment in a lot of ways, but, people that are approaching it with strong commitment and optimism, I think is really, really going to help. It's very easy for any one of us to be overwhelmed and feel the loss more than anything. And that's something each of us has to battle every day. But it takes strong leaders like we have, again, across our system to make it work. I loved the report, and I'm sorry I missed the second half of it, but I'll get the PowerPoint. But seeing those really, I've seen it, I've had people share a couple others with me. It's like this really creative things that classroom teachers are doing. It's like that's the silver lining of these new ways of being that are going to come out of this really challenging experience. So I can't say thank you enough to everybody. And I just want to just add one more thing. I think, we're all immersed in the national election situation and, kind of pummeled with that information. But I also remind people that, there are important local elections as well. And of course, vote, everybody vote, but also, to do what you can. And I realize there's a lot more stress on people these days, but to be informed. More and more to me, it's the importance of doing one's own research and really understanding the role that people are asking us to elect them into is important to do. So there are good resources out there. But anyway, I just wanted to add that. There's a number of elections coming up that are education related. And so that's important to all of us. So, and I'll end with that. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Durkee. So I'll echo my fellow board members in thanking Dr. Clark, staff, and everyone who helped us have a successful first week of school, in the middle of a global pandemic, to pile on, Zoom issues, heat wave, fires, smoke, just the obstacles were pretty staggering. By no means was it perfect. I think we all know that, but overwhelmingly, the feedback I've gotten is very positive, and I appreciate, parents and students being resilient and adaptable and recognizing that we have these challenges and working with us as we get through them. I do want to address that we've heard the board, I think there's some misinformation out there regarding elementary music. So I want to clarify that our board has not taken any steps to cut back on elementary music. I'm confident in saying our board has been a strong supporter of elementary music, including, I have a elementary music student myself, and she gets a lot of enjoyment and excitement out of it. And so that's something we remain committed to. And there are adjustments being made, and we're figuring out schedule. And that was actually something we built into our memorandums of understanding, was to have checkpoints, because we knew we weren't going to nail everything at the first pass at it. And so there will be adjustments. This one in particular with Medea, our teachers union, we're certainly happy to work with them about how we can provide more elementary music time for our students. I think that would be a great outcome. And so we'll continue to talk and work with them and work on that. The other part I wanted to touch upon was just, I think we've heard from parents who've said, they really want, especially elementary students, back in school. And, I think every board member, Dr. Clark, staff, all of us would really welcome that too. I mean, that is our goal. But we balance that with the data and the safety of our students and of our staff. And, as much as I'd like to have our students back in now, if you take a look at, and I recognize it is tough on all families, it's especially tough on families where both parents, or if they only have one parent in the home where they're working, it impacts the siblings, just the dynamics. It is very, very challenging. But I also recognize that if you look at other parts of the country where they've gone back and then had to pull out of in-person learning, that's even more disruptive. And so I think the most disruptive thing we could do is say, oh, we're going back. Oh, no, we're not. And so, we're going to continue to monitor the data and, figure out which students in particular are most in need of in-person instruction and aim to get them back as quickly as we can. But knowing that we're in this for the long haul, and frankly, the national and state policies have a big impact on this. And, I think when we took action in March, none of us expected that we would still be in this type of situation. But when you look at the kind of haphazard response we've had from our federal government, and in some instances on the state level, that cases are spiking and it is not safe to send their students. And so the things we know we need in order to get our students back where we want them: adequate testing, comprehensive testing, and sound data, as well as a standard policy on masks, which is still, shocking to me, but is still a controversial thing. This idea of, hey, we need everyone to wear a mask. And so those are the type of things that we're going to need in order to bring our students back. And so I think, I'm hopeful that we're going to be able to do that in small increments, but it's going to be a process, and we have to be guided by data and do what's in the best interest of the health and safety of our students and of our staff. And so we're looking forward to that. That's all that I have from an update standpoint. So with that, we're going to go ahead and move along here to our next item. And so we move along to our consent agenda. So items listed under consent agenda are considered routine and will be approved, adopted by a single motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items. However, any item may be removed from the consent agenda upon the request of any member of the board and acted upon separately. So, board members, do we have items that we would like to have removed?
Okay, I have just one. 14.3, please.
Okay, 14.3, which is the review and potential approval of 2021 pending computer technology purchase REC. So I've got 14.3. Are there any other agenda items that the board would like to consider for separate discussion? Okay.
I would make a motion that we adopt the consent agenda with the exception of 14.3.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, motion Ms. Mason, second Ms. Mayo. Ms. Mayo, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Mason?
Yes.
Ms. Cowan?
Yes.
Ms. Berkey?
Yes.
I vote yes, passes 5-0. We move along to what was formerly 14.3, which is the review and potential approval of 2020-21 pending computer technology purchases from August 4th through August 17th. Ms. Cound, was there a question?
All right, thank you. I just wanted to say thank you for the additional detail. The estimated device inventory attachment, I think, was a good start. I also think that it is, it really shows us where we need to go in terms of technology in the long term. I can see that it's not fully updated yet, even this list as it is, but it really shows that there's quite a difference school to school, and the system that we've had historically in this district is not one that's really set up to make sure that every student has a device in the way, like the way that textbooks work, for example, where we make sure as a district that every student has their textbooks. And I think that's where we need to get to, is to really work on our long-term district-wide technology plan. And I think that there also used to be a technology advisory committee. So I'm hopeful that that will be a part of the development of the plan. I know a number of parents have offered their skills and expertise to be a part of such planning when it's time. I realize we just hired our director of technology, and he's been very busy getting school launched. So I wanted to just say thank you for this start. And it does show we have a long way to go, and we have, I think, a clear vision of where we need to get to. I guess I didn't have a question, just a comment.
How about a motion?
All right. So on that note, I move that we approve the 2021 pending computer technology purchases from August 4th, 2020 through August 17th, 2020.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
I'm going to go with Ms. Mayo. So Ms. Durkee, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Mayo?
Yes.
Ms. Mason?
Yes.
Ms. Cound?
Yes.
I vote yes. Item passes 5-0. And so that clears our consent agenda. And so we move along to the regularly scheduled business items. So we're starting with 17.1. Review and potential approval of the technology infrastructure for Glenbrook Middle School. And Dr. Clark, is there further info on this, or does the agenda item speak for itself?
Dr. Gonzalez, I'm going to defer to you on that. Does the agenda item speak for itself, or is there something you want to say about this?
It does speak for itself, although if there are any questions, Melanie or Wendy or I can attempt to respond to those.
Okay. Board questions or comments before we move to a motion? All right. Would anyone like to bring forth a motion?
Mr. President, I move we approve the technology infrastructure for Glenbrook Middle School campus.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion Ms. Cowan, second Ms. Mason. Ms. Mason, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Cowan?
Yes.
Ms. Durkee?
Yes.
Ms. Mayo?
Yes.
I vote yes. Item passes 5-0. We move to 17.2. Review and potential approval of reduction 2021-10 to reduce the number of classified employees based on a reduction of a particular kind of service, also known as a PKS. And Dr. Clark and Dr. Rubio, is there further info on this one?
Thank you, everyone. No, not further info, but just we are still catching up to a lot of the plus and minus FTE lists that were done over the last 3 months. And so I think there's a lot of follow-up that we want to make sure is completed correctly so that we're handling everything with our employees in the proper manner. So this is mostly parent-funded positions, again, that were pulled back. Some of these came through the board a few months ago, but we're making sure we're trying to make sure we catch everyone.
Okay, great. Any board questions or discussion? Okay, look for a motion.
Mr. President, I move that the board approve the resolution 20/21-10 to reduce the number of classified employees based on a reduction of a particular kind of service.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion Ms. Mayo, second Ms. Mason. Ms. Mason, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Mayo?
Yes.
Ms. Durkee?
Yes.
Ms. Cowan?
Yes.
I vote yes. Item passes 5-0. We move to 17.3. Review and potential approval of proposal for wireless access point installation at various campuses. Dr. Clark?
I'm going to defer to Dr. Gonzalez.
Okay, Dr. Gonzalez.
I'm here to answer any questions the board may have.
Alrighty. So I see, so we've got 17 school sites, parking lots with wireless, which would help students that they'd be able to go and use them there. Do we have questions, further questions from the board on that?
Yes, I would just ask how these particular sites were chosen and what kind of input there was from students or staff at those sites.
So I know that Melanie is also joining us. These are all sites that as part of the last E-rate, and Melanie, am I right? This last E-rate was 4 or 5 years ago. These sites were all identified back then. Everything was purchased, but the project was not finished. And so I believe the way that E-rate works is that once something is purchased for a specific site, it can only be used for that site. Because I tried to get creative and was told I couldn't. Melanie, did I leave anything out?
No, that is correct. The sites were identified previously, and just the only site that we didn't add one site that we felt needed it. It was a struggle for external Wi-Fi, but the overall goal is that throughout the community, all of our students in our community will be able to find a local site where they can obtain exterior Wi-Fi.
And would that Wi-Fi be available theoretically 24/7? So it's not just limited to school hours, but if someone, if they wanted to come after hours or on a weekend, they'd be able to connect then?
That is correct.
Thank you.
And is it limited to like MDUSD Chromebooks, for example, as was with our parking lot offering in the spring?
So you do have to be logged in to your district accounts. Students all have district accounts. You do have to be logged in to have full access, but the guest portal will also be available. However, it is limited based on our parameters. So, you can't come and be on all the different social medias and that type of thing, but it is available for all.
And to ask a follow-up question, so if a student had their own Chromebook or like an iPad, if they had their credentials, they'd be able to come and access the Wi-Fi. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes, you're able to log into your with your own credentials on a borrowed Chromebook or your own device.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions?
I would make a motion to approve the proposal for wireless access point installation at 17 various campuses.
I'll second it. I never get a second anything, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm seconding it. I vote yes. Ms. Mason, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Cound?
Yes.
Ms. Mayo?
Yes.
Ms. Durkee?
Yes.
All right, it passes 5-0. That's my incentive for fast seconding. Otherwise, I'll do it myself. So next is a informational review of the MOU with the Mount Diablo School Psychologists Association. Do we have questions or any context, Dr. Clark?
Yeah, so again, we want to set the parameters of bringing MOUs and bringing these documents to the board for review. We know that we posted the agenda on Wednesday and we responded to any trustee questions, but we have no formal presentation with these four MOUs unless any of the trustees have any follow-up questions.
Any questions from the trustees? All right. So I appreciate the transparency here, and we'll continue to bring these forward. This was an info item, and so we move along to 17.5, informational review of the MOU with CSEA, which is our California School Employees Association, Chapter 43. Same context. Any?
Same context. All these, all these are valuable partners in delivering the services, to our students and staff throughout the district. We appreciate all of them. And so I don't want to highlight one over the other or whatnot, but these are all our partners. And again, we're just taking through this process to be transparent for the public and for the board to be able to review at their leisure.
Okay. And so with that, we move along to another info item, which is 17.6. You're noticing a theme here. Informational review of the MOU with our friends over at Teamsters Local 856. Any questions or comments from the board? All right, I would just say thank you. Oh, actually, we've got one more, so I'll hold my thank you to after that one. So 17.7, which is informational review of the MOU with CST, which is Clerical, Secretarial, and Technical Unit, Local 1. And any questions or comments from the board on this one? So I would just say thank you, Dr. Clark, and thank you to our negotiating teams on both sides. And these MOUs are what have set the parameters for allowing us to return to school. And there's a lot that went in to these, a lot of thought, a lot of time and effort. And, as I mentioned earlier in the meeting, some of these will be, tweaked, and we appreciate the continued partnership on these. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
All right. And in what is a MDUSD record, I believe I've got nothing else on our agenda other than we didn't report anything out of closed session. There's nothing else to be carried over to closed session. Future agenda items, if board members have particular ones that they would like to submit, they can just submit those to Ms. Mason, myself, and Dr. Clark, and we're happy to work on those. But does anybody have anything else? All right. With that, before 8 o'clock, we're going to go ahead and adjourn here at 7:55. So thank you, everyone, and have a great evening. Stay safe.
Thank you.